Hey, welcome back. It's Monday. Welcome back. Big week in front of us. I did go to the Renfest this weekend. I promised you I would. I saw a lot of stuff. Troubadours, dirty poets, ate some nasty food, saw a lot of interesting people. It's funny, I met this one guy in line, and Jason, if you're watching, welcome. I was in line for a beer, and this gentleman was in front of me, and he just turned out of nowhere. Love this guy. Turned out of nowhere with passion in his eyes and his heart and said, I'm listening to this awesome new podcast about the Civil War. Are you into the Civil War? Are you into American history at all? Just out of nowhere, just turned right back. He was in front of me. I was behind him. We were about to get our beer. We were maybe 3 or 4 people deep. And he just turns and says, I'm listening to this great Civil War podcast. And I said, wow, that's cool. Who's it hosted by? And we talked about it a little bit. And I said, hey, Jason, have you ever read Howard Zinn's History of America? I think you'd learn a lot about Civil War and, pre-industrial America and all these things, the slave trade, the West Indies, our expansion into Indian territory. It's really good. And we talked about that a little bit, and he started getting fired up, and I started getting nervous. As I'm looking around, I'm seeing pirate with a sword and a dagger. I'm seeing some guy, a knight with a helmet, a shield, and a sword. I'm looking over, I'm seeing Vikings with axes. I'm just saying, I'm surrounded by a crowd that I couldn't exactly put my finger on, if you know what I'm saying. Like, not sure how many friendlies are around us, and Jason's getting more and more fired up, and he likes that I want to engage him, and we start talking about James Telrico, and we start talking about the Save America Act, and we start talking about the war in Iran, and and my guy behind me, and it's so funny because sometimes black people, being a minority in this country, we find ourselves in a minority in a crowd. Normally not a big deal, but some crowds, when black people find themselves in minorities together, we give each other kind of a look like, look, if it kind of pops off, I need to know where you're at, you need to know where I'm at, we need to know where the exits are. Sometimes we need to be a little bit more aware of the demographics than others, especially when there's swords and axes and knives and daggers and alcohol. And so Jason's getting more and more excited. And there's a black dude behind me, and he kind of interjects himself at a lower tone. He says, hey, I'm a friendly too. Hey, what are you guys talking about? I'm a friendly too. I heard some of what you're talking about. He's looking at me like, we got to calm this dude down. And Jason turns and he's like, anybody who voted for Trump isn't a friendly and doesn't believe in America. Loud as shit. Just so loud to me. And this dude are like, hey, Jason, we're going to buy your beer and we're going to get you out of line here. Jason, if you are watching, you are the man. And I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, especially since I made it out of there with my limbs attached. Hopefully I've got 2 new listeners. My man behind me also said he was going to follow the podcast. I will say this, it demolished my back. I already have back issues. If I stand for more than 30 minutes, like a little dagger gets stuck in there and somebody lights a fire at the base of my back. And it was bad. It was bad Saturday. Man, I thought I was going to go to a massage parlor for the first time in my entire life. I've never gone to get a massage. So I went on Saturday to the fair. On Sunday, I got up and I called the massage pod. Never been to a massage, never been to a Massage Envy, personal, but never done it. And I called up Massage Envy. I guess I'm giving him a shout out. And I said, I'm looking to get a massage and my lower back hurts. And the girl on the other end said, well, we've got somebody that can handle that. And pause. And I said, well, can I get in there at 12? And she goes, no. And I said, well, can I get in there at 1? And she goes, no. I said, okay, let's try this a different way. When can you next see me? And she said, 6:30 this afternoon with some dude she mentioned. I couldn't do it. My dad was taking me out to the Eagle Grill for some crab cakes. I couldn't do it. That was a weird conversation. So my back is still killing me. If any of you have any suggestions, I'll take them. Rod, hello. I know you've had some good suggestions for me. I don't take the advice of my parents. Why would I do that? I'm not that mature yet. Rod has given me great advice. My mom's given me great advice. I don't take the advice of my parents. They know that full well. I'm not mature enough. So if any of you have any advice for me out there, I'm just kidding, Rod. Speaking of Rod, no King's Parade. No King's protests. This weekend, Another No Kings protest. This is going to be bigger than the last, just like the last one was bigger than the one before it. It is going to be the largest protest in American history. Right on time, considering what we're going through right now as they are moving from one violation, constitutional violation, to the next, as the SAVE Act and the Save America Act are making its way through. The tariffs are about to ramp up again in a new form and fashion, despite the Supreme Court's rulings. ICE is still a big part of our lives, although the stranglehold on Minneapolis has been, loosened. ICE is still a major part of our lives right now. And now, of course, the Iranian conflict. There's a lot of reasons to protest this administration, and that's just what America is going to do. This weekend, it's going to be the largest ever. I believe it's Saturday. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I believe it's Saturday. I looked earlier, and then now I'm getting it confused. It's Saturday. So we're going to talk about that again, but definitely check, go online, check what your local organizers are doing, where you can be. I'm going to try my best to be out there here in West Palm. Last No Kings, West Palm showed out. Man, did they show out. Now, West Palm, Palm Beach County is blue for sure, but the rest of the state also showed out, and the rest of the state is not quite as blue, or at least it hasn't been. Cubans, I'm looking at you. Cubans, because you like to lean on Democrats are the closest thing to communists in this country. We fear communist regimes. Look what we've been through. Well, I got news for you. The Trump administration is more resembling the regime you ran from now more than ever. And certainly more than the Democrats. I'm looking at you, Cubans, but I digress. We will be having those protests this weekend. It's going to be amazing. Trump, this morning, put a Truth Social post out there. It was a surprise considering what led up to it. What did he put this morning? I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which, and he spelled it WITCH, which social media is running with that, which will continue throughout the week. I've instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thanks for your attention. This is so not bigly, so not strongly, so not quickly. This is so weak. This is so impotent. Not only in its content is it impotent and weak, when you look at what transpired Friday and Saturday, it's especially weak because your boy Don tacoed again. Taco Trump strikes again. He is all talk. He is all bluster. While he gets pressured by the Iranians and pushed around, pressured by the Israelis and pushed around by the Iranians. And the Iranians see it for what it is. Now, why this? There were some things he had said over the weekend. And a lot of his tactics to try to bring oil prices down have failed so far. This is one of the last tools left in his toolbox. After he's already said they've been decimated, after he's already threatened to demolish their energy infrastructure, their oil infrastructure, said they sunk their entire Navy, killed all of their military infrastructure, said we already won. Now he's talking negotiations, which aren't happening. But in the talking of the negotiations, how about that? Oil prices fell. On the back end of this little announcement, Trump finally found something that he could spew from his mouth that would have a positive effect on the oil markets. The rest of his bluster and his bigly, strongly, quickly rhetoric, that has not helped as they spike. But this helped for a little bit for now. The prospect of this ending through negotiations. But let me be clear with you. Those negotiations aren't happening for a number of reasons. He is lying to you. He's lying to you about good faith negotiations going forward, and he's lying to you about any proposed negotiations that happened over the last 2 days, like he posted on True Social. They didn't happen. It's not happening. I couldn't be any more clear about that as of right now. As of right now. What was he saying on Friday? What was he saying on Friday? On Friday, this is what the president had to say. This was Friday. He said that he was considering winding down the war. I mean, what I'm about to detail to you over the 24-hour period makes what he said in that post so ridiculous. So taco Trump, so feckless. Friday, he said he's considering winding down the war. Okay? He said, we've got some demands, and we're going to put our guys, our special envoys, Witkoff and Kushner, on the job. And he pointed towards Witkoff and Kushner. They've been having discussions. It's been amongst themselves. They have had no discussions with Iranian supreme leadership. Let's be real clear. They have not talked to them. What would they be talking about if they had? Their demands. Their demands to withdraw. 1, no missile program for 5 years. No missile program. None. Not just nuclear warheads on an intercontinental ballistic missile, but no advancements in your ballistic missile program whatsoever. 0 uranium enrichment. Decommissioning Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow, their 3 main nuclear refinement facilities. They also want an outside observer, a third-party observer, to watch them over the next handful of years, to watch what they do with their refineries, to watch what they do with their centrifuges, to make sure they do not advance their nuclear program. They also want an arms treaty with the surrounding nations. They want to see something in place like none of you have more than, say, 1,000 ballistic missiles at any one time. None of you. You all agree. Come to an agreement. We cannot have you stacking and proliferating ballistic missiles to threaten each other's citizens with, on and on and on. It's got to end. And a big one, no more financing the Triple H. Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas. No more proxy warfare out of you, Iran. Those are our demands. And we got to make some kind of agreement about the stockpile of enriched uranium that we did not dispose of, that satellite imagery showed they had moved. We have to come up with some plan to address that. And the fact that we don't have a plan yet, it tells me that that special forces mission that they talked about either never happened or already failed. Remember, they were talking about sending a special strike team in, possibly with some scientists to, what was the term they used? Dilute the enriched uranium on the spot, right? Scotty and I were sitting, we wrote a little movie about it, and who would play the scientist, who would play the special forces leader, who would go in and dilute the enriched uranium on the spot. Well, either that's a no-go or it already failed. Who knows? But that needs to be negotiated as well. What's Iran asking for? They have demands of their own. They do. Their demands include an immediate ceasefire, guarantees that this will not resume in another 6, 7, 8 months, like what happened last time, and compensation. And what did Don have to say about reparations and compensation? That's a non-starter. Why? Because as we all know, only losers pay reparations. Only losers pay compensation. And that's not bigly, strongly, quickly. Don's vanity will not allow him to give them reparations.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett Breaks Things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
Okay. So on Friday, he was talking winding down and negotiations. We're going to put Kushner and Wickoff on the job. But again, there were no negotiations. The only semblance of a negotiation that was taking place at the time was the Iranians gave a message to the Qatari that they may be open to negotiations. That's it. That's it. There are a few hurdles that even the notion of negotiations must jump over. First of all, who the hell are you negotiating with? You are currently, the United States and Israelis are currently on an assassination mission. The objectives of this conflict are wildly shifting. It started as they're an imminent threat. They're an imminent threat because Israel was going to strike them no matter what we said or did. And because Israel was going to strike them, they were going to retaliate. That got a little messy. So it got whittled down to imminent threat. Their nuclear program, their missile program. That's how we got there. Increasingly, however, the objective became we have to somehow stop them from strangling the world's oil supply. They are strangling 20% of the oil market right now, and oil prices are skyrocketing. They're up $1 in the United States on average since this conflict began. This is a huge, huge problem. And now it's morphing into we got a problem in the Strait, and it looks like we need to assassinate every single Iranian leadership, stalwart. Anybody who's worth anything in the Iran Supreme leadership right now has a crosshair on their forehead. They all need to go because we have things we want to do in your country, and you darned hardline, fundamental, religious zealots are standing in our way. You're standing in our way. We want an uprising in your country. We want to unlock the Strait of Hormuz. We want to go back to sanctioning Russia. We want to go back to sanctioning your oil. We have a lot of things we want to accomplish, and that Iranian supreme leadership is standing in its way. So they're all on the chopping block, all of them. So who exactly are you talking about negotiating with? Who? Would you even be willing to negotiate with Mujtaba, Ali's son, Mujtaba Khomeini, right now the leader of Iran, who has not been seen in public, released just a few statements, and as far as U.S. intelligence and Israeli intelligence can confirm, he is alive but got severely injured in the strike that killed his father. Does he want to talk to you? Does he want to talk to you? Do you even want to talk to him? Because if you don't want to talk to him, then who the hell are you talking about negotiating with? Your little uprising, it doesn't seem like it's happening right now. There are no Iranian opposition leaders in a position right now to speak on the behalf of the country. Not the Shah's son, not Ahmadinejad, nobody right now. No Iranian opposition is in a position to negotiate with you right now. If you were to negotiate with the Iranians, it would be with Mujtaba only right now. Are either of you willing to do that? Also, there's another problem. Last time we did these Iranian talks, it was Oman who was the mediator. Well, the U.S., Israel, and Iran, none of them trust Oman. None of them. This little message from the Iranian leadership to the U.S., it was through Qatar. Qatar may be an option to negotiate. They may be an option to mediate these negotiations. But even Qatar said, we really don't want that, especially in the face of strikes in our country. We might be able to do a little wheeling and dealing behind the scenes, but we do not want to be the face of this conflict's ceasefire and negotiation. We don't want to be the face of the dwindling hope that this could have a quick end. And we don't want to be on the receiving end of Iranian retaliation when it doesn't go well for them. They don't want the smoke. Qatar's the only one, it seems, that all three sides are willing to trust, and they don't want it. That's Friday. That was on Friday. Winding down. negotiations. On Saturday, I don't know what happened. I don't know what someone close to Don told him. I don't know what Kushner or Witkoff might have told him. Or maybe it was something the Qatari told him. Maybe he just ate one too many Big Macs and his tummy was a rumbling. Something set Don off big time. Big time. Maybe it was the Israelis. Maybe the Israelis caught wind of this winding down talk and negotiations resuming talk. Well, that is not on their agenda. As we know, Israel pushed Don into this, and maybe they're not done yet. Now, it's more than maybe. They're going to tell you they're not done yet. We'll get to that. They're going to tell you they're not done yet. They're going to tell you that. They got business in Lebanon. They have problems with Iranian supreme leadership's ability to keep its promises and not advance its nuclear goals. Israel has a lot of problems with ceasefire now, with negotiations right now. They're not done. I don't know who told Don what, but somebody told Don something. Because on Saturday, he comes out, and some of you saw it, he gave Iran a 48-hour deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or else. Or else. Quote, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. That's what he said on Saturday, 24 hours after he said winding down negotiations, ceasefire possibly. He went back to threats immediately. I don't know what he heard. I don't know what he was told, but it was something, and he flew off the handle. There are no guardrails in this administration. They do not exist. This is not the first Trump presidency. Anybody who would have pushed back from something like this has been eliminated a long time ago. Honestly, I know you guys love that movie Fight Club. You remember the scene where Tyler is in the car with Ed Norton's character? I can't remember. God, how can I not remember? But Tyler's in the car with Ed Norton's character and the two other cult members back behind him. And Tyler's and Ed Norton's holding onto the wheel as they're going down the road at way too fast a speed. And Tyler said, just look at yourself. Just let go. Just let go. And so Ed Norton lets go. And the four of them go flying out of the lane, off the side embankment, crashing into a gutter. Almost all of them died. That is where the Republicans are around Don right now. Somebody at some point said, just let it go. There's nothing we could do. Let it go. Just let go. Stop trying to steer the wheel. Don's the car. Don's the car speeding 100 miles per hour into traffic. And the Republicans have let go. Everybody in the administration has let go. All of his senior officials, legal counsel, all of his agency heads, they've all just let go. This is Don's deal. This is all Don from here on out. And crap like that is proof of it. True social posts like that are... So right after that, Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf, he's in their parliament, one of their civilian top leaders, he said, immediately after the targeting of power plants and infrastructure in our country, vital infrastructure and enemy energy and oil facilities across the region will be considered legitimate targets and will be destroyed irreversibly, and oil prices will rise for a long time. So they threatened him right back. And then 24 hours after that, we get this True Social post about we've been negotiating. You know, it talked about a 5-day memorandum. He went on. He said they got 5 days. We're going to negotiate. After all that bigly strongly talk, the 48-hour window hadn't even hit yet that he imposed on them, and he already tacoed on it. But that was a strategy that brought oil prices down just a little bit. But what's really funny is that Iran, they saw the taco Trump for what it is as well, and they talked about it. I wish they would chill out. take your W quietly. But no, they got to poke the bear. Iranian state media portrayed President Trump's decision to postpone the deadline quite simply. One Iranian newsman said Trump has backed down in the face of Iran's vows to retaliate for any U.S. strikes on power and energy sites. Trump, out of fear of Iran's response, backed down from this ultimatum. That was from their state news. How about Iranian officials? What did they have to say? One anonymous Iranian senior official said that President Trump backed off his threat to target Iranian infrastructure after Iran's military threats became credible. I wish y'all would chill out. I wish you guys would just take the day.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett Breaks Things, where the stakes are high and the truth still matters.
So, and you know how I really feel like I may be onto something with Israel pushing back really hard against the notion of negotiations with Iran at this point. They're not done. They're not nearly done yet with Iran and Lebanon. They have aspirations, military aspirations in the region. Why do I think I may be right about that? You know, shortly after Donald Trump announced the United States had productive talks, that bullcrap tweet Sunday night, I think it was, the Israeli military immediately released a statement. After Trump talked about negotiations, they immediately released a statement. They said it had conducted a new wave of strikes against the Iranian government following Trump's announcement of negotiations. New wave of strikes. We told you, Don. We told you not to do it. You came out with the bigly, strongly talk that we written for you, but then you tacoed on us. You tacoed on us. You first talked negotiation. We don't want that. Maybe we got in your ear. You came out bigly and strongly on Saturday, threatening a 48-hour ultimatum. And then you tacoed the very next day, and we don't like it. So you want to talk about negotiations? We talk about a renewed wave of strikes on their government, the government that you claim you're negotiating with. I'm telling you, the Israeli pressure has no end. It is so influential to Don's decision-making. I don't think we have any idea just how much Bibi calls the shots in the Trump administration. It cannot be understated. It cannot be understated. Some European officials are talking about the situation. Some Iranian officials, all anonymous, of course, are talking to American media outlets about this situation. The Iranian official, he had some things to say. You see, their outlook on how this is going is a little different than Don's. Don's out here saying Navy crushed, military crushed, missile deployment systems inoperable, missile production factories smoldering. We've already won. It's just how much winning we want to do. Tiger blood. Winning. How much winning do we want to do? Iranian officials don't see it that way. The Iranians don't see it that way. They don't see it that way. This Iranian official said a few things. He said, by partially closing the strait, Iran is seeking to make this aggression super expensive for the aggressors. We are alone against the biggest military superpower of history. Okay, that's a lie out of the Iranian official, because Russia is producing drones and shipping them to you. And Russia and China are giving you their satellite-gained intelligence, surveillance. You're getting intelligence and munitions from Russia and China. You, Iran, are nothing more than a proxy. And you are doing your job beautifully. You are dragging this damn thing out. There are prospects of boots on the ground. You are strangling the oil markets. You are making this as painful as possible. And that is the game we are playing right now. Who can inflict more pain now? Who can inflict more pain now? This isn't going great for Don in terms of inflicting pain on the Iranians enough to end this. And there are signs. There are signs that this could drag. There are signs that Iran is winning the pain war. There are signs of it. as they strangle the strait and force America to scramble to try to deal with and mitigate the fallout in the oil market. And we are trying, and I will go about some of the ways we are trying to mitigate this, but we're running and scrambling and trying to clean up. The Iranians are right now, they may not be winning the attrition, considering all the dead and all the military strikes, the loss of the Navy, the loss of military installations, civilians certainly losing their lives, supreme leadership getting killed, but they are not pressured to negotiate right now. They are feeling no pressure to negotiate right now, and there are signs that this is the case. We will talk about this in a little bit, but the Treasury Department is lifting sanctions on Iranian oil. What? We're at war with them. Excursion, military operation, whatever conflict, whatever it is. We're in a conflict with Iran as we lift sanctions on their oil. That is how desperate we are. Also, you've got Qatari and Omani officials saying, yeah, we're going to start going backdoor channeling to Iran and making our own deal. Because what the U.S. is about to get engaged in is going to be weeks and weeks, if not months and months, and we can't sustain this. We might have to make a deal with the country that's kind of actually winning this, Iran. Oh, yeah, it's already beginning, as they're starting to talk about a possible ceasefire between Qatar and Iran only, and Oman and Iran only. Flat out, they don't think the United States, by hook or by crook, is going to topple the Iranian government. And they're looking to make a deal. Not all the Gulf nations, not all our allies in the Gulf are taking this posture, but they are. It gets worse as far as our position. One of our big strategies were these Iranian Kurds moving in and sparking a revolution, an invasion, not using U.S. troops, but using the Iranian Kurds who are mounted up along the western border of Iran. That was a big part of our plan. That plan has all but failed and is done. Not going to happen. And we know who to blame for it. A gentleman, a Mossad agent named David Barnea, chief Mossad agent named David Barnea within Israel, he had pitched a plan to Bibi and Trump. And the plan involved galvanizing the Iranian opposition forces, using intense airstrikes, high-level assassinations, and using the Kurds to move in. It was all centered around Kurdish invasion force following an Iranian uprising. The toppling of the Iranian government by its citizens. We weaken the supreme leadership regime. We weaken their headquarters, their military operation, their military installations, their manpower. We weaken it and they take over. Well, it's not happening that way. And it's funny because Israel has some of the same problems in the upper echelons of their administration that we do. You see, in 2018, Mossad agents and officials and intelligence gatherers at the time said, if we should ever go to war with Iran again, having an uprising, having their people top of the government, it's a non-starter. It's a non-starter. At the time and for years, the conventional wisdom within Israel was there is not the size of protesters enough to do this. The amount of people that would need to arm themselves and take to the streets and the amount of power the supreme leadership has over their people, it's an unbridgeable gap. That was their words at the time. It's an unbridgeable gap. Well, what did Bibi do? A lot like Trump. You fire the guy that's not telling you what you want to hear, and you bring in a guy that's going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. Eric Siebert, anybody? Eastern District of Virginia, saying to Pam Bondi and the Trump administration, yeah, we don't have any evidence on Letitia James. We don't have evidence on, James Comey. Any indictment we try to get from a grand jury will be flimsy at best. It won't fly. It won't play. Can't do it. Can't have it. And so they fired Eric Siebert and brought in Lindsay Halligan. And we see how that worked out for Lindsay, Pam, Todd Blanche, and Trump. Loss after loss after loss after loss as Comey and James walk free. It looks like Israel has the same problem. You fire the Mossad agent that tells you an uprising backing a revolution isn't going to work in Iran, and bring in a guy who'll tell you just what you want to hear. And now they're taking the loss. Now they're taking the loss on the back end. Protesters are staying home because they fear they're going to be machine gunned. Period. And a lot of the Iranian people aren't really excited about trying to fill a vacuum that's created, a power vacuum that's created by American and Israeli bombs. They're not too keen on the idea of the U.S. and Israel bombing them back a century and then they become kings of the rubble. It's not something they're too excited about. And even if we did completely dismantle this regime, experts in the region are telling Israel and the U.S. it's not going to be what you think. Ahmadinejad isn't going to ride in with, on a horse with a force behind him to save the day. If this regime should topple, it'll most likely be a civil war between hardline zealot, rival, hardline fundamental factions within the country. The religious zealots will start battling each other for power. The people do not have a role to play. They will continue to be stepped on and murdered and prosecuted and arrested en masse by one fundamental leader or another. And how about those Kurds? I already told you, the Iranian Kurds, it had been determined once we started talking to them, and word started floating around the Iranian Kurdish tribal camps that we might be using them for an invasion. Some got excited, some did. But the reality is they don't have enough people, they don't have enough experience, and they don't have enough ammunition. And when they were getting ready to invade, Trump himself had to reach out to some of these larger Kurdish leaders and say, please don't do this. You're going to get slaughtered, and it's going to look like our fault. We are going to lead to another mass slaughter of Kurds if you guys go in right now. Israel had already bombed the western region of Iran. They tried to soften up the western portion of Iran, soften them up for a Kurdish invasion, and Trump said, stop right there. You're all going to get slaughtered. This isn't going well. This is the type of crap that keeps Iran from negotiating in good faith. Or at least keeps Iran from negotiating from the stance of a country who's getting their ass kicked. That is not their posture right now. They feel total pain versus total pain. They're causing more. They're applying more pressure. That's how they feel. And they are feeling pain and pressure themselves. The U.S. and Israelis, they have struck over 15,000 military targets across Iran up to this point. They have destroyed military infrastructure, some energy infrastructure. They have destroyed municipal buildings, civilian infrastructure. They have eliminated swaths of supreme leadership. Swaths. Which is now becoming a problem. Why? Well, let's take a look at two killings of Iranian leadership specifically. Ali Larijani, the Secretary of Supreme National Security Council of Iran, and the spokesman for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Ali Muhammad Nani. If you wanted to make some kind of agreement with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, that's who you would have talked to. They are in chaos. The strong arm of the supreme leadership is a little bit in chaos. Chaos is not good for us. We need to control the situation. And any control we may have gained over the Islamic Revolutionary Guard would have come through talks, negotiations, or some kind of understanding with Ali Muhammad. And what about Ali Larijani? This one's worse. This one's worse. because Ali Larijani, in particular, was uniquely qualified to negotiate with the United States. He has done it successfully in the past. And up to his death, he had maintained consequential, successful back channels with Europe, other European Union countries, and the U.S. We had been back channel talking with him for quite some time, and he has been talking with Europe and some European allies all this time, successfully. And Ali Larijani had inroads with Moscow. That's right. He was beginning to talk to Moscow about exploring ways through Moscow that the Trump administration could come to some kind of agreement with Iran. Talking to Moscow actually makes sense if you're Ali Larijani. Number one, Russia has investments in how this goes with Iran. They're already getting rich since we lifted their sanctions. They have an interest in how this goes both ways, whether it be extended or comes to a ceasefire. They have interests. And we know that Don listens to Putin. You know, maybe talks with Oman or Qatar, maybe they may not go anywhere. But get Kushner, Witkoff, and some high-level Putin administration officials in a room at the same time, and we, the American public, may not love the optics or the outlook, or the outcome, but something could have gotten done, possibly. All that's out the window. All that's out the window. So now they have to try to take out Mujtaba, right? They have to try to take out the Iranian supreme leadership, which I'm here to tell you, taking out the Iranian supreme leadership is a good thing. Why do I say that? Among many, many, many reasons, let's look at their 3 executions that they just concluded. 3 executions. One of them was a 19-year-old wrestler on the Iranian wrestling team, a national hero. They say he attacked a police officer, and they hung him, and they were proud about it. Yes, the Iranian leadership is a big problem.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things, pushing back, speaking up, and holding the line.
Everybody's feeling the pain. Everybody's feeling the pain. So if we're keeping tally, right, if we're keeping score on this little engagement, incursion, conflict, war, military operation, whatever it is. For keeping score, Iran's got Chinese and Russian assistance. They've got drone manufacturing coming from Russia. They've got Chinese and Russian satellite imagery and surveillance and intelligence. They've got a stranglehold on the oil market. They have closed the Strait of Hormuz, except to China. Except to China. China's getting its oil. Millions and millions and millions and millions of barrels of oil are successfully making its way to China. How about that? And Iran is successfully attacking U.S. interests and allies in the region. They are threatening desalination plants. They are threatening oil infrastructures of U.S. allies. They are threatening. Meanwhile, the U.S. is absolutely demolishing their military, installations, troops, Navy, ground troops, demolishing them. They are wiping out their senior leadership, although they haven't got Mujtaba yet. And they are still holding out hope of an uprising. If we demolish your infrastructure enough, if we demolish your IRGC enough, if there aren't enough supreme leadership in Iran to successfully squash an uprising, then we may get what we want in a revolution. But again, that might not look like what the U.S. wants it to look like. But everybody's feeling the pain. And when I say successfully attacking U.S. and Israel allies, I mean it. Successfully attacking Saudi Arabian oil infrastructure, successfully attacking Qatari infrastructure, which is why they really don't want to be the face of the negotiations. They got struck just recently. But they're also successfully striking Israel. Oh, yeah. Two devastating ballistic missiles just recently hit 2 Israeli cities. 115 injured. We don't know exactly how many are dead. Maybe none, maybe a few. Reports are still coming in on that. But at least 115 injuries in these two cities. One of them, what was it called? I can't remember the name. One of the cities. But here's the thing. Israel's feeling it now. What I thought was really weird is that those two missiles got through. We were being told upwards of 90-something percentile of Iranian missiles into our allies were getting shot down, and these two devastating ballistic missiles hit Israel. How the heck did they get through? Could we be seeing the real effect of a lack of munitions? Could the attrition be working on both sides? Man, really weird those two getting through. And Israel's not going to stand for it. And Israel and Iran are saying things about it. Iran said about these two missiles that got through. The Speaker of Iran's parliament claimed on Twitter that if Israel failed to intercept missiles in Dimona, that's the name of the city, Dimona, it's operationally a sign of entering a new phase of battle. Israel's skies are defenseless. They just called it right out. More pressure. More pressure. And Benjamin Bibi, he responded. He said that Iran endangers the entire world and asks world leaders, what more are you waiting for? Where are you? He is going to pressure us into boots on the ground. He's going to pressure us into boots on the ground. He pressured us into this, and he's going to pressure us into boots on the ground. And boots on the ground are becoming more and more and more an eventuality. I told you about the Marine Expeditionary Unit, the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, 2,200 Marines plus helicopters and support vehicles heading to the Strait. Well, 4,500 more Marines are on their way with an infantry battalion that is a landing team with helicopters, F-35 fighter jets, and armored landing vehicles. All on its way. All on its way. One slick little Israeli official commented on it and said, those Marines aren't coming for decoration. Israel wants our boots on the ground. Israel wants their boots on the ground. And they are pressuring us to get it. And strikes within their borders is only going to make Bibi ramp the pressure up more. It's funny because where they would put the boots on the ground is the question, right? And Lindsey Graham comes out and says out loud what I've been saying for the last week, which is if we put boots on the ground, it's going to be Karg Island. It's going to be Karg Island. Their huge depot. Their huge depot. Listen to what Lindsey said. Keep it up for a few more weeks. Take Karg Island, where all of the resources they have to produce oil, control that island, let this regime die on the vine. Okay, he's telling you, Karg Island. I've been saying it's going to be our Iwo Jima. Here's the thing, we can't really get to Karg Island unless we get through the Strait. And to get through the Strait, we're going to have to seize it. We're going to have to battle our way through the Strait, dealing with drone attacks, missile attacks, mine attacks, kamikaze boat attacks. It is untenable to just send our ships through. We're going to have to secure the military installations all along the coast of the Strait. It's not just Karg Island. That may be the destination, but it'll have to run through the Strait. We are going to put boots on the ground to seize the Strait. Don is going to find himself cornered, where all the talk and supposed negotiations, lifting Russian oil sanctions, lifting Iranian oil sanctions, it's not going to get it done. They're going to have to take the Strait back. Take the Strait back. And to get to Karg Island, they have to be able to send their ships through. We will be sending troops into the coastal region of the Strait of Hormuz and then Karg Island, and we will seize it and hold it. And I don't think they're going to stop there. They may move inward and start seizing oil depots and fields. Admiral Brad Cooper, you're up. You're up, Admiral Cooper. You are the head of U.S. Central Command in the region. You formerly were the U.S. Navy's, the commander of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet, which was in the Gulf region for years. You're now in control of the Navy in that region right now. You will be the spearhead. This is on you, Admiral. And it could get messy. You're up. You're up. Also, taking the Strait, it's been a dangerous area for years. Why? Because the Houthis in that area have been harassing shipping lanes around there when we're not at war, when we're not invading Iran or in a conflict with Iran, their taskmaster. Even in times of peace, it's dangerous to ship along those routes because of the Houthi rebels. Well, we send a force in led by Admiral Cooper. We will be kicking the hornet's nest. You want to see this get ugly and messy, Admiral? Wait till the Houthis get involved. Wait till Iran calls on them to defend the Strait. It's going to get really ugly. And here's the really nasty part. Israel says, even if we pressure the U.S. into Iran's land, into the Strait, on land, into military installations, even if we pressure that, even if we are successful taking the Strait back, even if there is a ceasefire after negotiations, we aren't going to stop. We don't believe Iran is going to abandon their nuclear program. We may have to get involved anyway. And I'll tell you something, says Israel, if the U.S. and Israeli forces end up bombing this country for the next 3 or 4 months and it's nothing but rubble is very easy for us to conquer. When it's nothing but rubble, we'll have no problem moving in and completely dismantling Isfahan and Natanz and Fort Al. We will see to it personally, up close and personal, that these nuclear facilities are done for good, that Iran's nuclear aspirations are done for good. So honestly, U.S., we don't give a damn about any ceasefire that may come from negotiations between you and the Qatari and Moscow and Iran. We don't care. We're not buying it. And we're not taking the chance that a similar supreme leadership rises from this. We'll go in anyway. We're going to go in anyway. Crazy. We're going to come back for just a little bit of overtime. We're going to hit a few more points, and we'll be right back.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things.
Yep.
Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts, no fluff.
I finally moved the Starbucks bottle. Mom was asking me if we have a deal with Starbucks. Now Scotty's coming in like a smartass saying, hey, Brett, you got a deal with Starbucks I don't know about? Fine, I moved the bottle. I only drink Starbucks coffee black. I do not drink water. Only. Breakfast of Champions. Israel is not the only one fed up with Iran. They aren't. I told you, a couple countries, Oman, Qatar, they want to make a deal with Iran personally. But some other Gulf states, they seem to be at their breaking point with Iran, and they're saying things about it. The UAE said the Strait of Hormuz is an international waterway, and Iran has hijacked it. The world has to be a bit more united and decisive about taking it back from a hijacker. Okay? What are the Saudis saying? They're not averse to a little bit of saber rattling. They said the Gulf was against this war from the beginning, but Iran is crossing every red line. Now the Gulf might be willing to go all the way. That's Trumpian talk right there. Don likes that. That's bigly, strongly, quickly right there. Bigly, strongly, quickly. Luckily, UAE and Saudi Arabia are not nuclear. But, you know, I don't know what all the way looks like to them, but I bet Israel likes it. I bet Israel likes it. And I keep mentioning that we unsanctioned Iranian oil. Yeah, I just want to toss that in. Scott Bessent is out here making the news rounds, trying to defend this little move. Republicans in Congress, some of them, they are really not happy with this, but they're not going to speak out publicly. Now, this move has spurred a couple of them to, hit the talking points that they had been hitting previously, just kind of a new round of a little bit of dissatisfaction with Trump's decision-making and overstepping Congress, but they won't come out just yet and say this is a really bad move. This is a really bad move. But Bessent will come out and he will defend it. By temporarily unlocking this existing supply for the world, the United States will quickly bring approximately 140 barrels of oil to global markets, expanding the amount of worldwide energy and helping to relieve the temporary pressures on supply caused by Iran. We are about to fund a war against ourselves. Unlocking Iranian sanctions will be worth about $14 billion for Tehran. Unlocking these sanctions and allowing Iranian oil to flow freely out will drop oil prices a little bit, and it will put $14 billion in Tehran's pocket. We already did this. We unlocked Russian oil sanctions, and they have a windfall now. A windfall. Russia's involvement in the Iranian conflict, there's two things at play. One, and for the Ukrainians specifically, one, less drone attacks on the Ukrainians because all the drone production is getting shipped off to Iran, right? So it's leading to less drone attacks on the Ukrainians. But now the Ukrainians are sitting here watching us make Russia rich. We were just about at a point in that conflict where Russia was running out of manpower, running out of money and equipment. Not anymore. They have absolutely refueled their war machine in the last 2 weeks. Refueled it. They've got the money now. They've got the money. At the prices they are now selling Russian oil, they've got the money. It is a complete windfall. Complete windfall. And now we've done it with Iran. We are funding the war against ourselves. It's so funny, too, because the reparations that the U.S. is considering would be unlocking Iranian locked, sanctioned, seized money. Oh, yeah, we've got more of that Iranian seized money, and we're thinking about unlocking that as well and giving it to them. When Obama did that, the right lost its mind, and they spun the crap out of it, talking about, look at all this money Obama just gave them to fund their nuclear program. This is crazy. Look at all this money Obama just gave them to give to their proxies in the region. Obama didn't give them anything. He unfroze seized money that was theirs. When Obama did it, the right lost its mind. Trump's about to do it. You know what else Trump has done? He started releasing some of our reserves. When Biden did that, MAGA lost its mind. You lost your mind when he did that. And now Trump's doing that. He already did it. Released some of our reserves. Crazy. You know what else we did? We revoked the Jones Act. Have you heard of the Jones Act? So what this was is any oil passing from U.S. port straight to another U.S. port had to be built by the U.S., owned by the U.S., registered by the U.S., and manned by U.S. sailors. No foreign entities going from U.S. port to U.S. port. Gone. Now they're going to welcome anyone's ships, unsanctioned Russian ships, or unsanctioned Iranian vessels that'll show up at Florida and then move over to Puerto Rico and then on to the next destination, and all of a sudden that's okay too now. Jones Act gone. That thing's been in place since like 20-something. It was a post-World War I maneuver. That's done as well. So we're now funding a war against ourselves. Isn't that cute? What else are we doing? We're bypassing Congress once again to sell more weapons to our allies in the Middle East, which the whole notion kind of confuses me. First of all, we enacted the Arms Export Control Act at the beginning of this invasion to sell 20,000 more bombs to Israel, bypassing Congress. These kind of arms sales have to go through our Armed Forces Committee. But he can declare the Arms Export Control Act. He can declare an emergency under this act and bypass Congress. It has rarely ever been done, and I mean rare. Now, Marco's done it twice in a month. He did it at the beginning of this to sell 20,000 bombs to Israel, and now he's doing it again. He's sending equipment to, also all over the place. UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, 11 different orders encompassing billions of dollars in sales. You may say, Brett, what's so wrong with that? I mean, what's the big deal? What's the problem with that? We're going to sell weapons to our allies in the region. Well, first of all, that needs to be approved by Congress. But other than that, I spent days on this program telling you how short of supply we are, especially anti-drone and anti-missile technology. Well, what's going off to the UAE? Chinook helicopters, okay, drones, Patriot missiles, air-to-air missiles, THAAD advanced defense missiles, anti-drone systems. All the things we are running in short supply of, we're about to sell to our allies. Also, what the hell's the emergency about, Marco? Because he's the one who announced this. How can there be an emergency so dire that you have to overstep Congress to make these sales when your cult leader told us Iran was decimated? We had already won the war. It's just how much we want to win. Already won the war does not sound like an emergency that should be enacted so we can sell more weapons immediately to our allies in the region. Why are you asking Congress for $200 billion more right now, aside from these weapon sales? They're going to ask Congress for $200 billion in emergency funding for our military excursion operation conflict war. Why? According to Don, we already won it. So, the Dems are doing all they can. They're talking about the weapon sales. They're pushing back. And here comes another war resolution, war powers resolution. We just saw earlier this month, Massey and Khanna's war power resolution failed. That one would have forced Donald to cease all military operations in Iran. That one failed. It failed 219 to 212. Well, we got a new one coming. And Jeffries has assured us, well, from his words, Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, you know him, he said the new resolution would contain substantial differences from the first to reflect the developments in the conflict over the last 3 weeks, as well as the sentiment of voters, a majority of whom oppose the war. Right. Okay, so you adjusted it, and you feel like you have more Republican support. Well, let's just start with more Democratic support, shall we? Because not all Democrats were on board the first time. Jared Golden, Juan Vargas, Henry Cuellar, Greg Landsman, they all voted against your war powers resolution last time. What's changed? Well, a little bit of hope. Landsman, who voted no on the last one, I just mentioned him, he put this on X. He said that he will vote for the resolution when it comes to the floor. I urge every one of my colleagues to vote yes. The United States Armed Forces have accomplished remarkable tactic and strategic success. It's now time to be done. That's how you do it, Greg Landsman. You You compliment the dear leader. You kiss his ass, and you throw his own words back at him, but it's a soft toss. Mr. President, this has been a remarkable success. You've said so yourself. Winning. So, since we've won, time to stop. That's how you do it, Landsman. That's how you do it. I like that little maneuver. So, we'll see how they do. We'll see how they do. Do I expect any Republicans in the House to come aboard? A few. Will it make a difference? Maybe. 219 to 212? Let's see how many Democrats we can get to come back over. And then let's see if we could just get a handful of Republicans to come over as well. Then it goes to the Senate. That might be a little dicier. I'll be back tomorrow, kids. Thanks for hanging out.